Welcome to Prismatic College Stories, parents, student, and professor perspectives on distance learning during the 2020-2021 school year. The overview consists of objectives, literature, our theoretical framework, modes of inquiry, data sources, evidence and analysis, and our results.
The objectives of our work included mapping the experiences of college education from multiple perspectives during the 2020-21 school year. We also identified lessons of strength and improvement for education and documented the coping and resilience of students, parents, and educators under stress.
The stressors of the pandemic and the lockdown really affected mental health, caused grief and trauma, impacted student performance, impacted unemployment and job security. Also on parents, parents experience additional stressors, also impacted student motivation levels, and increased inequality for individuals of color who were affected by the pandemic. And levels of stress also increased.
In short, the literature showed that the pandemic impacted students, educators, as well as offering recommendations to improve education. Our theoretical framework was prismatic theory. It comes out of rhizomatic theory from Deleuze and Guattari, which requires that you deterritorialize paradigms and hegemony, and you map a phenomena. This uses the prismatic lens, which uses multiple viewpoints and decenters paradigms, hegemony, and arborescent patterns. Our methodology was collaborative prismatic inquiry, again building out of Deleuze and Guattari. We mapped multiple researcher participant voices, and we used the narratives from 11 participant researchers about their experiences with educational systems during the 2020-2021 school year.
The next section will cover our data sources, evidence, and analysis, which consists of three main themes of leadership, professor, and students.
So patterns identified in leadership were statewide confusion, leadership supports put into place, technology concerns and issues and strengths, role models, and then problems for student support programs. So an example from the narrative was, with a new school quarter approaching, more and more students began to voice their opinion on the state of tutoring. It was called impersonal, and the main complaint being that no real help was gained. The students felt that without a live tutor walking them through the material, they couldn't properly learn or retain any information that was being given to them. This may have been our saving grace as a faculty, because that is when the talk of returning for the spring quarter began to circulate.
The patterns identified from the professors are recognizing the impacts of the pandemic, juggling multiple roles, need for human connection, instructor support, and flexibility. An example from the narrative was, I made myself easily accessible to the students via individual and group virtual meetings and emails. Various check-in meetings in group and individual formats were scheduled throughout the year, so we could support each other to make it through each semester.
Patterns identified in students is distance learning as a new beginning, emotional impacts, problems with distance learning, perceptions of students as seen through Zoom. An example from a student is, the college experience is absolutely nothing like I would have thought it would be. I wake up 2 minutes before class and join a video call while I'm still in my pajamas and haven't even brushed my hair. My camera is off and I am muted. No one knows I'm anything more than a name in a box, and I don't see anyone else as anything more than a name in a box. Staying awake in an online class where no one is engaged and the teacher is lagging is nearly impossible, and unfortunately, I found myself dozing off during class on 2 separate occasions while I was trying so hard to pay attention.
The substantiated results. So when looking at supports for a student, it involves the leadership, the professors, and the learner themselves. And there's different qualities that support leaders to be learning centered, have foresight, have effective communication. Professors need time, they need technological knowledge, flexibility, communication, and instructional skills. The student as a learner needs social emotional support and skills, resources, connection, voice, intrinsic ownership, technological skills, connection, collaboration, and support. All three roles need voice and connection, academic knowledge, and social emotional supports to be successful.
So the results really, there were 3 interconnected support segments that included the institutional leaders, educators, and the student as a learner. And they all were really interconnected, and the choices that leaders made really impacted the students and the overall climate and culture of the school and the classrooms. So leadership really needed to be learning centered, looking ahead, empower educators and to collaborate with one another, and they really needed to communicate effectively. What was found was educators really needed time and flexibility, and students really needed social connection. They really needed social emotional support, resources to survive, connections with other human beings, especially in the classroom, online classroom, and voice. They needed to be heard, and technical knowledge.
In conclusion, there is no way to encapsulate the unique lived experience of all individuals during the pandemic. Additionally, recounting experiences did not necessarily include all that went on during these last 2 years. The emotional turmoil students experienced and the anxieties they projected and brought to virtual online classes cannot always be entirely transparent, since this can also be seen as a breach in confidentiality. To stay afloat, many choose to focus on the well-being and daily grind of survival and continue to encourage, support, and advocate for their students. The individual voices affirm the literature, the struggles faced during this pandemic, and the layered responsibilities professors face, especially women and women of color. The underlying theme of struggle, survival, and triumph continues to hold true. These struggles were often emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual, which impacted the realities of the learner and the educator. In addition, the dynamics within the virtual space were also altered and impacted. Thank you.